Springtime. Springtime 2008. I was davening at the 8:15 minyan, and after davening, I see my close friend, Yedid Nafshi, Josh Rudolph, in seventh heaven. Now, Josh is generally a happy-go-lucky guy, but that day he was ecstatic. I couldn't figure out what it was. So I asked Josh, I said, I know what it is. You got that IBM promotion. He says, no, Mike, better than that. I know it, I got it. You finally bought a house. No, Mike, better than buying the house. I said, tell me, Josh, what's going on? I never seen you like this. And Josh responds, Mike, here we go, baby. Rabbi Rosner is coming home. Rabbi Rosner is making aliyah. I said, Rabbi Rosner, the medical ethics rabbi? No, that's his father. I mean, Rabbi Shalom Rosner. I never heard of Rabbi Shalom Rosner. Josh then says to me, Mike, you are going to love him. He is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, many of you know that we made Aliyah from South Florida in 2007. I used to go weekly to North Miami Beach, about a 20-minute drive from Hollywood, to attend shiurim from Rabbi Ephraim Shapiro. When I told Rav Ephraim we were making Aliyah, I started to cry, and I begged him to come home with me. I said, what am I going to do to replace you? He said, don't worry, you're doing exactly what Hashem wants you to do. Hashem will take care of everything. Baruch Hashem, Rabbi Ephraim told the truth. Now, most of you know that I am a Rabbi Rosner groupie. I just cannot get enough of his Torah. At the beginning, when we moved to 41 Shimon in 2009, Michelle Schulzen, our neighbor, came over and was asking Vivian about my chavrusa with Rabbi Rosner. He says, what do you mean? Vivian asks. Well, I hear his voice every day teaching him something. No, that's the internet stuff or the Parsha Shir. The bottom line is hardly a day passes by with the sound of Rabbi Rosner is not heard in my house. Baruch Hashem, we are so privileged to have Rabbi Rosner in Beit Shemesh, and I would like to ask him to come up and give Divrei Bracha to Tani.
Just wanted to say thank you for 2 points. Number one, I don't think I've ever been at a simcha where the bar mitzvah boy's father was more excited than the bar mitzvah boy. And it's tremendous to see the simcha shining. And number two, I've never been at a simcha where I saw Rabbi David play football. So both of those, I thank you very much. Tani, in your parsha that you read yesterday, 2 people ponder Yom HaMisa. We connected this last week in the Parsha Shir. Mike referenced it. 2 people think about death in yesterday's parsha. One is Esav. Vayomer Esav, Hinei anochi olech lamut. I'm going to die. And towards the end of the parsha, Yitzchak Avinu also thinks of death. And yet, the same event motivates them and inspires them to opposite conclusions. Vayomer Esav, Hinei anochi olech lamut, v'lama zeli b'chora. What do I need this for? What's the purpose of life? Let me just throw it all away. Let me just forget it. It's not worth it. We're all going to die anyway after 120 years. What do I have to work hard for? And Yitzchak Avinu has the opposite reaction. Aseli matamim ba'avur tzrechacha nafshi b'terem amut. Let me take care of what I can. Let me use every second to give over to my children before that day comes. The same event, but opposite conclusions. We find throughout history in Tanakh many examples of people or peoples that the same event could cause opposite reactions. The Makos, 10 Makos, Kriyas Yamsuf, Ma'amad Har Sinai, all the nations of the world, we say it every morning. They were scared, they were shaking. Shamu Amir Gazun, They couldn't move. They were paralyzed. Am Yisrael was on the march. They were going to Eretz Yisrael. And Amalek comes along and says, wow, what amazing coincidences. It's amazing. What a strong tide that was that day. I mean, they dropped dead at the same moment. The firstborns. That's so amazing. Lashon Mikra. Asher Karcha Baderech. The same event, but opposite reactions. The Mitzrayim followed into the Kriyat Yamsuf, one of the most amazing psukim in all the Torah. Am Yisrael, Rasa, Shivcha Layam, Ashalara, Yechezkel ben Buzi, and the Mitzrayim went straight through. If you read in Sefer Shmuel, David HaMelech, after spending 7 years in Hebron, he moves his Malchus to Yerushalayim. Finally, he gets there. And all of the nations, everybody realizes, David HaMelech, he's been on the run from Shaul. Shaul could have tried to kill him. They saw David, they realized that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was with him. And in the same perek, in Sefer Shmuel Beis, the Torah tells us, the Navi tells us, that Hiram, the king of Tzor, sends him presents. I want to bet on your good side. He sent him supplies for the ultimate Beis HaMikdash. And yet those same Plishtim, Vayalu, Vayishmu Plishtim, Ki Mashchu es David Lamelech al Yisrael, Vayalu as Plishtim, Lavakish as David. The Plishtim said, wow, here's our chance. Here's our chance to topple the great David HaMelech. So the same event, Yom HaMisa thinking about, the Makos, Kriyas Yamsuf, and the rise and ascent of David HaMelech could bring opposite conclusions to those who are witnessing. Tani in life, we witness many events. We go through a lot of experiences. But the trick is what we do with them. How do we react to them? Will it motivate us to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu? To make the most of our time here like Yitzchak Avinu? Because that's our goal in the world. And that's something that only now you could appreciate when you turn 13 and become a bar mitzvah. If there's one thing that we could all attest to about Vivian and Mike, it's their excitement and enthusiasm for each and every opportunity to do a mitzvah, to teach their kids, to listen to a shir, to take part in a chesed. Their reaction to all of life's situations is the path of Yitzchak Avinu. How can I take advantage? How can I make the most of these special moments? Mike, as we all know, is one big ball of positive energy and effusive praise of great Torah thoughts. And along with Vivian, Tani, your parents have created for you and your siblings a home based on the values of all the avos and the imahos, having a great attitude for every religious experience. And our bracha to you is that you follow in their footsteps. May you continue to bring nachas to your parents, your dear grandparents who we are zocha to have with us, Mrs. Greenwald, Mrs. and Mrs. Wiesel, and may Hashem bless you with the wisdom to always follow in the footsteps of Yitzchak Avinu. Mazel tov.
Now, thank you, Rabbi Raza. That was beautiful. Now, I did mention, but of course I forgot. You see that Gemara in Shabbos about when you get older, you start losing. See, Rabbi David, the Gemara tells the truth. You get older, you can't remember things. Okay. The St. Louis Cardinal team I invited, but they didn't show up. So instead, they sent you, Tani, an autographed baseball of one of their pitchers. We'll see if he makes it this year. Okay. Tyler Lyons. Don't know. Maybe he's Jewish. I don't know. The St. Louis Blues hockey team, Jaden Schwartz, he could be Jewish. He signed you a puck, and he wrote Mazel Tov on it. So there you go. The St. Louis Rams sent you a autograph picture of, I don't know, some guy with a bunch of, tattoos, all that stuff. Okay. Yeshakaya. So there you go. I mentioned at my father's first Yortzeit shir about the relationship that my family and Rabbi David's family go back to the early 80s when Rabbi David was the menahel at Block Yeshiva High School in St. Louis. I also told over the story how much my father tried to persuade me to leave Skokie Yeshiva and switch over to Block because he fell in love with Rabbi David and his personality. After all, they are both so meticulous about the Nusach HaTfilah. Although I did not switch out of Skokie, the 3 years that the Davids were in St. Louis were very, very special years for all of us. I would like to share a story about Rabbi David, which I have not told up to now. When I would visit my parents during Bein Hazmanim, there wasn't too much to do in St. Louis. It is not a town that has the fancy Broadway shows or the glitter of New York City. It pretty much has one thing going for them. You guessed it, playing baseball, and that's all that we did. So much so that one Chol HaMoed morning, when Rabbi David was not given his weekly shiur at the Aguda, a whole bunch of us had a pickup softball game, and Rabbi David joined us. Yes, St. Louis has a ton of baseball diamonds. So I was captain of one of those teams, and my close friend was the captain of the other team, and he picked Rabbi David on his team. Rabbi David was batting fifth that day, and the cleanup hitter was a lefty hitter. So, to face the cleanup hitter, I moved from left field to right field to face that hitter, and I stayed in right field to face Rabbi David, but I played a very, very shallow right field. I said to myself, there is no way the rabbi is going to hit the ball deep onto the outfield grass. No way. So I got a little nervous. When Rabbi David gets up there, he borrows a batting glove from one of my friends, takes some of the dirt, rubs his hands, and I see him in the on-deck circle already practicing his swings. I said, come on, not going to happen. I don't remember if it was the first swing or the second swing, but all I remember is Rabbi David crushing the ball, and I go, oh my. And immediately I said, there is no way I'm going to let Rabbi David have a home run on me. So I ran like crazy, and I held Rabbi David to a double. That's what makes Rabbi David so special. Wait. He relates to the Balabatim on all levels and can talk to us about anything and everything. That's why we care for him so much. Rashi mentions in Parshat Bamidbar, Tov latzadik v'tov l'shcheno. My family is so fortunate to have Rabbi David as a neighbor, and I always treasure the times he picks me up going to Mincha, walking down Rehov Shimon, when I had a house. Okay. On my first Yom Kippur here, I left my house early that day to get to shul for Tefillah Zakah. I saw Rabbi David walking, and he asked me, so Mike, how's the adjustment going? How's the family adjusting to things? I said, Rabbi David, it's tough. I know it's going to take time. Rabbi David responded, Mike, making Aliyah is just like Orla. It takes a solid 3 years. I said, Rabbi David, Orla, I can handle. You promised me it's not going to be like Yovel. Baruch Hashem, my family is so fortunate to have picked a neighborhood with neighbors and friends like you, and in my humble opinion, the best Rabbanim a neighborhood could have. Without further ado, I would like to call on Rabbi David to give Divrei Bracha to Tani.
Luckily, I didn't yet have the drink that was preferred to me. I'd like to wish a double mazel tov this evening to Tani and to Mike on their bar mitzvah. By the way, Mike, I don't understand how is it possible you can have this bar mitzvah without having gone to St. Louis to St. Louis Cardinals game. Ikar Chasem and Asefer. And I'm sitting at the Cardinals table. I remember. Bushy, 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 bushy beer. Bushy, 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 bushy beer. Do you recall that Avodah Zarah? They had this minhag in St. Louis. Very fascinating minhag. they would drink every inning, bushy beer, and in the seventh inning, they'd pour the beer in front of the people in front of them. They either thought it was Nisach Hayayin, Nisach Hamayim. So the seventh inning, I'm sitting there with my children who wanted to see a baseball game before we left St. Louis. And so I took them to a baseball game, and I found myself drowning in beer. St. Louis, wow, what a place. The truth is, there's more to St. Louis than just baseball, Mike. I met there one of the Gdolei Ador, Harav Tzvi McGenzie, Zechat Tzadik Devracha, Harav Shalom Rivkin, Zechat Tzadik Devracha, Yedid Nafshi, Harav Binnefeld Shlita, who's sitting here, the Rav of the Young Israel of St. Louis for decades, and a mentor of mine. And Baruch Hashem, I also met your father, Zechen Levracha, and your mother, Tibadu L'chaim Arukim. I think Mike has been preparing for this bar mitzvah since his bar mitzvah. It says in my davening, V'chol ha'oiskim b'tzorchi bar mitzvah be'emunah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishalem s'choram. V'yosim mehem kol machalo. V'yirpa l'chol gufa. Isn't there a nusach like that? Every jogging that he did was l'shem bar mitzvah. You know, we go to matzah baking factory. L'shem matzah's mitzvah. L'shem bar mitzvah. L'shem bar mitzvah. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. I don't really have a sense of humor, but I picked it up in St. Louis. All that beer, the seventh inning beer, was just... I said on Shabbos that Mike is Molei Regesh. I even quoted the pasuk, Beveis Elokim nahalech berogesh. Barad ruach geshem sheleg. That's what I heard from my father, Zechen Levracha, many decades ago. When I see Mike, I see his father, Rabbi Yitzchak Greenwald, Zechat Tzadik Levracha. Literally, Mike is his father incarnate. The spitting image, as they say in street lingo, in the argot of the underworld in St. Louis. Bro kara dabua, in every sense of the word, in every good sense of the word. I also remember, Mike, the Clydesdale horses. Do you recall those? Those massive steeds that they took out. Rabbi Binnefeld Shlita, I don't know if you were zeicha to that. You were zeicha to that. Baruch Hashem, that saved your rabbinate. Mike and Vivian, Baruch Hashem, you're zocheh to an outstanding mishpacha, wonderful family. Tani, it's unbelievable. B'nei bonim hareim kebonim. I see already your grandfather, through your father. And Baruch Hashem, Vivian, as I said, I mentioned yesterday, thank God you're around to, shall we say, control Mike a little bit. He's basically out of control. Baruch Hashem. Thank God. Mayim rabim lo yichlu lechabes esa'ava und the horas lo yishtafua. Im yitenish kol hoin beiso ba'ava boz yavuzilo. Mike loves the entire world. In my Mishnah it says uknei lecha chaver, and he says uknei lecha chaverim bechol ha'olam kula. That's a beautiful thing. Nothing to really laugh at. That's a tremendous quality. A quality of Ava that really just envelops everyone. And Baruch Hashem, that quality, Be'ez Hashem, should continue. Tani. There's a famous Rabbeinu B'chai in this week's parsha who comments on the pasuk, V'chol ha'beirot asher chafru abdei aviv, that were clogged by the Plishtim, by Malum Afar, and Yitzchak once again was able to uncover those beirot. Rabbeinu B'chai comments, well-known, famous comment. V'yesh b'zeh hitorut kal v'chomer shelo yishaneh adam miderech avotav. One should follow the ways of his forebears. Even though, Mike, there were only 3 bears, but one should follow the ways of one's forebears. There is a concept of Masorah, which you are very committed to, you and Vivian, Baruch Hashem, both of you. And that's the Masorah that you receive from your Mother, Tibada L'chaim Arukim, from your father, Zecher Tzadik Devracha. I just want to mention a few things about your father, if I may, what I recall. I used to hang out in his store. That was basically the only thing to do in St. Louis, if you want to be honest. Baseball wasn't exactly my cup of tea. The St. Louis Cardinals weren't exactly, shall we say, the New York Yankees. They didn't come near their karsulayim, near their toenails. And the moment I left New York, that was the end of New York Yankees as well. But certainly my presence in St. Louis didn't really help them much. Mike's father, I considered him to be literally someone who brought all the romance of Europe to America, whose commitment to Yiddishkeit was absolutely impeccable, a stalwart Jew from every sense of the word. It's not just that he sold lulavim and esrogim and shofros and honey and matzah for Pesach and Hanukkah. It was much more than that. You entered the store, you almost entered a different world. Zvizu Makdim and the mitzvahs. I sat actually next to him in Youngersville. I remember it well. I sat next to stalwart Balabatim, Alan Green, Zechenu Livracha, Jerry Lefton, Zechenu Livracha. There were so many. Noah Sussman, Zechenu Livracha. These were all his chaverim. And they were chaverim l'deya, a group of Balabatim who were sensational in the Avodas Hashem. Working people who integrated into the world at large, each one in their own profession. Doctors and lawyers and professors and biochemists, Joe Lefton and others. Their Kavanah Torah was sweet generous. And you and Vivian share those values. Their Derech Eretz, your parents' Derech Eretz for the Rav Ha'ir, for Rav Rifkin Zatzal, was absolutely remarkable. The Derech Eretz for Yibadol Chaim Arukim, Rav Binnefeld, Shlita. Yedid Nafshi was unbelievable. The Derech Eretz for Rabbi Krauss, Yibadol Chaim Arukim, was unbelievable. I saw it myself many times. And you, Baruch Hashem, and your wonderful wife absorb all these values asthmatically. Your wife, Baruch Hashem, is Molei Chesed. She's almost the antithesis of you. That's what Chazal say, Eze Kenegdo. Such a beautiful thing. Really, gorgeous from every standpoint. I was going to give a short Dvar Torah, but since you told me I have all the time in the world, he told me we're here till 12:30. So I figured I would go about now and take the next 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's not out of my ken. But I'll spare you because Tzar Balachayim is Daraisa, according to many. There's a comment in the Medrash. The Medrash says in Dvarim Rabbah the following. Abraham berachet Yitzchak. Abraham gave a bracha to Yitzchak. Dichtiv vayiten Abraham et kol asher lo liYitzchak. Ma natan lo, bracha natan lo. Ki inyan shene'emar, v'yiten lecha Elokim mital hashamayim. Omad Yitzchak levarech et Yaakov. Yitzchak decided to give a bracha to Yaakov. Omar, mimokom shepasak Abba, misham ani matchil. Where my father left off, there I'll begin. Abba, hifsik b'v'yitein, afani matchil b'yitein. Shenema v'yiten lecha Elokim. Uvamecha tam Yitzchak. How did Yitzchak end his bracha? B'kriya. Shenema v'yikra Yitzchak leYaakov, v'yivarech oto. Omad Yaakov levarech et hashvatim. Yaakov began to give a bracha to the Shvatim. Omar ein poteach ela b'kriya. Shenema v'yikra Yaakov el banav. Uvamecha tam b'zot. Shenema b'zot asher diber lehem aviyem. Omad Moshe levarech et Yisrael. Omar Moshe miskenim et bonan. Moshe התחיל לברך במקום שפסק יעקב, בזאת הברכה. וחתם אשריך ישראל מי כמוך. The Medrash is telling us about the chain of tradition. The shalshelet, the shushelet hamefuara. The Chazal speak about from father to son, from father to daughter, from mother to son, from mother to daughter, the masoret of the Abot and Imahot. Baruch Hashem, Mike, you and Vivian are transmitting that masoret in the most beautiful way. A masoret, which is, as Chazal say, Torah mefu'ara, b'chli mefu'ara, the Gemara Nedarim. Chazal speak of Masoret, Siag la Torah, but the ability to both take from the world and yet do so in a very discriminating and a highly selective kind of way is a formidable challenge, a gargantuan challenge, one that is not simple. Baruch Hashem, you've been able, as you know, I constantly speak about being normal. It's one of my favorite topics, a topic that is unfortunately becoming, to a large extent, very difficult to speak of because we're living in a world of kitzoniyut, a world of haktzana, a world of terrorism, a world of extremism. We're surrounded by it. And to raise normal, healthy children, wholesome children, is no simple task. And Baruch Hashem, you and Vivian are doing it beautifully. Tani is a beautiful example, so your other children. I want to give you a bracha. You should be socha to continue that beautiful shushelet, that beautiful masora of parents or grandparents. And Baruch Hashem, we have the great zchus of grandparents as well, your mother, Mike, and again, Joe Weasel, Iboya Weasel, and your children, Tamar, Ari, and Yael. Together, Be'ezah Hashem, you should continue to be mamshich, the beautiful masoret of Am Yisrael, l'dori dorot, u'lenetzach nitzachim. Mazel tov.